Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Wednesday show. We are going to be coming to you. Well, we are coming to you live from my condo. I don't know if you can hear me or if you're even there. Uh, so no one's on yet, but how's everyone doing? If you're watching later on, I hope you're doing well or super duper, as those cool kids say. Me being one of those cool kids. So we'll do a story time here while you guys come on. So when we came back from a closure at work because of the lockdowns, we would have to send an email to the head of our company, and I wrote in, like, we would do a daily thing. Hey, this was sales, this was blah blah blah. And I also put in there one time that we had decided to switch our whole company motto to everything is super duper, and the CEO thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And every single time he would sign off an email for about 3-4 months, he would sign off the super duper company. But sadly, it just never caught on. Anyways, how's everybody doing? People are slowly popping on. It's showing we've got a few people on my little counter here, which I don't think you guys see. I bring this up every time. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull up my own YouTube video that you're watching right now and see what you see. Because I'm assuming that you don't see that. Maybe you do. I don't know. Well, right now it's showing that we're not even live. Wait, what? Oh, there we go. Oh, wait. It is showing we're live, and yes, it does not pop up on your side of things. So tonight we're going to be going through and talking about Disney as usual. You guys are going to be choosing the topics as usual. Hello there. That's Obi-Wan Kenobi. General Kenobi. That's oh man, what's his name? that could be our whole show. Me just doing interactive. Oh wait, what is his name? The guy, the dude, he's in episode 3. He's in Revenge of the Sith, and I can see his face, and he's got the long arms. In Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, it's not Darth Sidious. That's the Emperor Palpatine. Spoiler alert, if you've not caught up on your Star Wars at all in the last 45 years. But what is that guy's name? Does anyone know who I'm talking about? He's got all the arms. He's a machine, but he's got a heart. And that usually that would be like Johnny Five from Short Circuit. He was a machine and he had heart, but it was a different kind of heart. He had pep and pizzazz and all that other fun stuff. But this guy, General Grievous, that was his name. General Grievous. Okay, so let's get this party started. We're going to start the 745th episode of the Wednesday show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 745th episode of the Wednesday show. Today is November 29th, 2023, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be going through and talking all about Disney. As usual, you guys are going to be choosing the topics. So if you guys have a suggestion for what you want to hear tonight, start throwing them into the questions or the comments below, and I will go through and choose 2 of yours and the one that I already had listed off here for our topic of the evening. But before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. Okay. Hello. So before we get into this, so tomorrow's YouTube video hasn't been filmed yet. It will be filmed tomorrow morning. I'm not going to say what it is because I've been sworn to secrecy by a person saying I cannot talk about it. But tomorrow's video will be going live probably around like 9-ish, maybe 10-ish in the morning Eastern time. Every like, comment, etc. that it gets would be greatly appreciated because this thing has potential to go crazy. And I've been like frantically, I usually don't go on social media and like focus on what other people are posting, but I've been frantically watching to make sure that no one else is going to be like attempting to do what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. And right now, I have not seen anyone else talking about it. So I'm hoping that we'll be the first people. And the person who told me is hoping that we are the first people too. So hopefully, cross your fingers, we will be the first people. But as soon as it goes live, make sure you give it a like, comment, all that other fun stuff. Speaking of which, if you didn't already know, we are posting a brand new YouTube video every single day over on my YouTube channel. Including that, we also are broadcasting a brand new short as well. Now, I am going to try something that we have only done one time before. Let's see here. Nope, that's not how. Yeah, how do you do it again? No, that's not it either. Is it this one? It might be. Oh, yes, this is it. Okay. Let's see here. Is that working? Look at this. Oh. So right now we are currently at 3,498 subscribers over on my YouTube channel. Look at that. Isn't that pretty cool? Here, is there a way for it to have it so we can get... No, maybe. No, nope. Oh, wait, can we do it this way? I'm still learning how to do... No, we don't want it that way. We want it so it's side by side. There we go, like that. And this way, as we go through here tonight, you can also watch and we can be like, oh, has it hit 3,000? Because if we... Here, actually, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to do something very dangerous that I never should do. Someone unsubscribe right now. And what it should do is you should see it go from 3,498 to 3,497. But please, as soon as you unsubscribe, please subscribe right back. But this is a live count for the subscribers. So this can also, we'll have it so it pops up from time to time. That way you guys can kind of go through and we can see how many views it has. And this way I'm not like holding up a busted phone like we usually are. Ooh, and then. So is someone going to unsubscribe? Unsubscribe just for a second and then subscribe. And we'll see this go down and then go up. Unless it's not actually sharing the screen like it's supposed to. But come on. Go down or go up if anyone gets a 3,499. But anyways, tonight's episode, there we go. See, it just went down. Okay, now please subscribe back. Please subscribe again. All right, 3,497. And then watch. When she subscribes again, it'll go up to 3,498. Ashley, please subscribe. It didn't come back up yet. Not yet. But maybe it'll pop up pretty soon here. But as always, tonight's episode is sponsored by Patreon Pals. Oh, there, see? It went up. Ah, I love it. Okay, we'll have it so we pull that up as the show goes on here too. What's a good rhyme that we have not done yet for our Patreon Pal thing? We are still looking for our official look at what our Patreon Pal thing is going to be, but let's just for this time say, I've seen some fish, I've seen some whales, but most of all, Patreon Pals. Patreon Pals, become one today. So thank you to our Patreon Pals for being the sponsors of today's episode. Okay, so tonight we're going to be giving you guys 3 options. I am looking for possible options from you guys out there. However, if you guys have joined us in the past year, what we have been doing is doing our Disney 100 series, where we are going through and doing every single year from 1923 until 2023 and talking a little bit about what happened in each specific year with Disney history. We can do one of those episodes, or we can do an episode about a current Walt Disney World attraction. We'll throw that one out there too. If you guys choose that one, we'll then go further and have it so we figure out which attraction we're going to cover. Or we can do a take a hike segment, which is where we go through and do a virtual walkthrough of Disney. Okay, now this is not cool. I don't know who just unsubscribed, but please come back. Please come back. Okay, so I kind of like the fact that we can just pull this up at random now. That's really cool. And then we can just go back. Is that like, is it now just me? I'm hoping. Oh, wait. So those are your three options. You guys have about 1 minute to throw into the vote. So it's either Disney 100, a look at a current Walt Disney World attraction, or our third option is a take a hike segment where we do a walkthrough of a specific attraction or a specific land someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. So throw your votes into the comments below right now. Also, I cannot stress this enough. I am so excited for 3,500. 3,500 is a massive number that I've been working on for quite some time. So please, 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 it would be great if we could get to that number while we're live with you guys tonight. So throw your friends over as well. All right, we got one vote for Take a Hike, another vote for Take a Hike. We've got a 100 Years episode vote up right now. So right now it is a 2-to-1 vote. You guys have about, we'll say another 30 seconds to throw your votes in there. We got another Take a Hike. So we got 3-to-1 vote right now with Take a Hike in the lead. I always like doing the Take a Hike segments. They are some of my favorite episodes. Take a hike, take a hike. Let's just declare it the winner. Take a Hike is our winner. But we have to figure out where we are going to be taking a hike at. So I'm going to give you guys two options of parks, and then we'll narrow it down from the parks to the other. Let's say Disney's Hollywood Studios, because we've not done to take a hike there for quite some time. And I always like doing a take a hike at the Magic Kingdom. So take a hike either at Magic, or you know what? Or Animal Kingdom. Studios or Animal Kingdom. Throw your votes in. Again, we'll give you, this time it's going to be about 45 seconds to throw your votes in. So either Disney's Hollywood Studios or Disney's Animal Kingdom. Throw your votes into the comments right now. I'm going to put away my notes for the other one. Okay, we got one for Animal Kingdom. 2 for Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is slowly taking the lead here. Again, those people who are just joining us, we do have a bunch of people are popping on right now. Hello, everybody. So we are doing a Take a Hike segment tonight. We're going to be talking about someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort, specifically, most likely, Animal Kingdom. And we're going to be doing a walkthrough of a specific area inside that park. We got 4 votes for Dak. Our time is up. Animal Kingdom is going to win. We're going to do our final vote to get into our episode tonight. I'm giving you 2 options. One of them is the option that is going to be pretty much a preview of what I've been working on for the last 2 months, 3 months, a little over 2 months, about 2 months and a week. We can either do a Dinoland USA take a hike, or let's say Africa. Dinoland or Africa. Throw your votes into the comments below, starting right now. Again, we'll give you guys about 45 seconds to throw your votes in, and whichever one wins, we will be going through and doing that here. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, I have to say, oh, there we go. We're still at 34.98. Okay, we got 1 vote for Africa. And we only have 1 vote. We have 1 vote for Africa right now. We are looking for a few more votes to pop up here. We got 2 for Africa. 2 for Africa. None for Dinoland USA. I was kind of surprised. I just thought everyone was going to be voting for Dinoland USA. Asia's not one of the options. Just Africa or Disney or Dinoland. Disney's I'm looking, or Dinoland USA are going to be our only 2 options right now. Asia, I could. We'll allow it. We'll throw Asia in there too. If you guys want to throw Asia, if anyone who voted for Africa wants to switch their vote to Asia, I will allow that as well. Welcome back. The city of Anandapur, or the city of Harambe, or the city in Diggs County, USA. Those are our 3 options right now. I would do Pandora, but I really like Pandora. I think it's visually pleasing, but I just don't. The backstory is good, but it's not as in your face as the other ones. Okay, it looks like we are going to Africa from all of our votes for Africa. So get the party started. Let's gather together, which is a great way for us to actually start this entire segment. We are over in the town of Africa. First off, if you've never joined us for one of these Take a Hike segments, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking through the land virtually. we're going to be going through. And while we're going through, we're going to be pointing out different fun facts and different fun finds, different historical things that deal with the actual history of the land itself, along with some of the history of the actual land itself, too. So some of the fictitious history along with the actual history as well. How about talk about the good ice cream truck? Mom, that is over in Asia. My mom is obsessed with that over there. So, Harambe. So, Harambe is the gathering place. That is actually the Swahili word for. Oh, wait a minute. So you switched to Asia. I saw that after I started talking about the other one. I'm going to let Frank Fam, you're the only person, right? Well, oh my gosh. Frank Fam, which land are we doing? Are we doing Africa or are we doing Asia? I'm letting you make the decision. Frank Fam 06. They are one of my Patreon pals, so we're going to let them be our final vote here. Oh, you would retract it. Okay, so we are staying with Africa. Africa stays. Okay. Okay, so Frank Fam says Africa. I say Africa. I love Africa. First off, before we get into this, there's this great book. You can find it on eBay still. It's called The Making of Disney's Animal Kingdom Theme Park. It came out in 1998 when the park first opened up. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it. It is pretty expensive on eBay these days. I was able to get it about 15 years ago on eBay, but I highly recommend it because this will go into so much detail about all the different lands. And when we're talking about the history of Disney's Animal Kingdom, and we're talking about, when you guys wanted to do Asia, Asia was actually not around on opening day. Asia did not open up until 1999. So ironically enough, Africa and Dinoland USA, along with the Discovery Island and the Oasis, were the only things that have been around since opening day. However, Discovery Island did have a name switch at the start of the thing too, but that's a different story for a different episode. So today we're going to be going through and talking all about Africa. Now, Africa's name is Harambe, which means gathering place in Swahili. And while we actually go through and talk about this entire thing, we're going to be talking a lot about the different references that are both in Swahili and in English, because there are so many different things to take a look at. Now, the first thing that you can notice while entering into the land is on both sides of the bridge coming from Discovery Island are two massive carvings that both say Africa. Or, as my friend Catherine and I said during our college program, we walked this land, we said, Africa. Like, freak out, the old song from the 90s or 80s. I don't even remember. But we have a good time. And so Africa has these amazing different wood carvings. All the different animals that you can find there are different animals that you could find inside of Africa at Disney's Animal Kingdom on opening day. And most of them you can still find in actual Africa to this day. There are a few animals on there that are extinct, but not all of them are extinct either. So when you actually walk across the bridge on the right-hand side, you can find our little entrance to Welcome to Harambe. Now, Harambe did gain its independence back in 1973 to 63, 1952. 1962. I had to visually look at a bench on my head. So in our story of Harambe in 1962, Harambe would actually gain its independence from a completely different country. Now, it is important to notice that while we are looking at the entire area of Africa inside of Disney's Animal Kingdom, the entire area does not actually pay tribute to a specific location in Africa, but it actually takes a bunch of different things that the Imagineers found in different places around Africa when they were doing research for Disney's Animal Kingdom, and they gathered it all together, much like a gathering place, aka a Harambe, and they brought all of those together and made it so those things would all be making up their fictitious town of Harambe. So when we go across the bridge, our first thing that you might see on the left-hand side is the bar/our restaurant, which everybody absolutely loves. Now, when you're over here, you can first off see up on the top, there is a hotel that is being advertised there. Now, if you look at the bottom wall that's going towards Festival of Lion King, and drew blank there on Festival of Lion King. But while you're going through on the right-hand side of that wall while heading towards Festival of Lion King, you can actually find a thing pointing out that there is a hotel room available and one shower. Now, amazingly enough, when we go into the history of Harambe at Disney's Animal Kingdom, originally they actually had it so over by the water, there actually used to be a little shower head there. That was actually the shower that they were mentioning in this area. So when we would actually go through, it was like a shower that was a community shower that would actually be found outside, because that's where the water would be coming from, was the actual water that was along the thing. Now, this is going to bring us to our first historical reference throughout all of Disney's Animal Kingdom slash Africa, because there is something that came inside of Africa slash Harambe that was not around on opening day in Africa, but it was actually part of Camp Mini Mickey, and that would be Festival of Lion King. Now, Festival of Lion King currently sits at the edge of Africa, and if you continue going down the path, eventually it'll get you over to Pandora, but we're not talking about Pandora today, we're talking about Africa. So when you actually get over to that area of Festival of Lion King, I don't know, I can't keep on thinking of Festival of Lion King. When you get over to the area of Festival of Lion King, if you go back in your past, in your brain, and you say, what was there before this was actually there? The answer would be nothing at all. In fact, the waterway that you actually would see the character floats go by still to this day was actually a little bit wider out and would actually wheeze around there a little bit. Now, if you actually have ever gone through and taken the Wild Africa trek, the little trek that takes you through the Kilimanjaro safaris, but you get to go along those like cool rope bridges and stuff. I had the opportunity to do that back when it first opened up in 2011. So in 2011, the gathering place for the Wild Africa trek was actually down by the river. So you would actually go backstage down by the river, and you'd be down, literally down by the river, because there's absolutely nothing else there. Eventually what they would do is they would close down Festival of Lion King along with Camp Mini Mickey to make way for Pandora. And when that happened, Festival of Lion King, I keep on like muttering over the words Festival of Lion King. I can't think of why I can't figure out how to say these words. But originally, when they were going through and trying to create Festival of Lion King, they said, Festival of Lion King is our most popular show in all of Disney's, or in all of Walt Disney World. We want to keep it around, but we need to figure out how to keep it around, but also get rid of Camp Mini Mickey to make way for Pandora. And the most logical thing was we can do an expansion in Africa where we have a brand new theater. So that's exactly what they did, was they shut down all of Camp Mini Mickey along with Festival of Lion King, and they brought it over to Africa, and they actually had it so it is part of the town's heritage, where they actually have it so there's different performances that have always been played there. Just right now, it just happens to be Festival of Lion King being played down by the river. Now, continuing down that walkway, we'll continue going down there until we get to Pandora. On our left-hand side, you can find some restrooms. While we're over at the restrooms, you can find several different advertisements scattered around. Now, these different advertisements go through. I now that I'm like rambling and I'm like completely in the zone, I know that there's some people out there who are like, I don't know how he pulls this information up, because it happens every single time I get into the zone like this. But on the left-hand side, you can find all these different advertisements, and the different advertisements are for things like fish. There's one that talks about sea fish, shellfish, and crabs as well. Those are literally the three things that you can find. And there's a little staircase that's going up to the top of the bathroom. Now, across the way from there, you can find this white building. At the bottom of the white building, there is a gate that says private. Now, the private there is actually the Club 33 location found inside of Disney's Animal Kingdom. I've never been inside. However, this is one of the best Club 33s that are at Walt Disney World, because as a guest, you can actually look up, especially if you go like at night, like I was there today, and you can look up and you can actually kind of see through the windows, and you can see some of the decorations that are inside, but you actually can't get inside to look at what's exactly there. But anyways, that's what that little private building is. Let's turn around and continue going back into Harambe itself. Now, on our left-hand side, while walking back, we do have Festival of Lion King. Festival of Lion King, like I said, has been around since opening day, but it did move spots. Now, Festival of Lion King originally was just supposed to be a temporary thing. Originally, it was going to be this idea of having it so you had a show inside of Camp Mini Mickey, and they kind of pulled it together, not really methodically. They just kind of threw it all together, and it turned out to be one of the biggest hits that any Walt Disney World show had ever had. So because of that, they kept it around, and it is still going strong 25 years later. 25 years, that's kind of crazy that Disney's Animal Kingdom has been around that long. So when we're continue going past that, on our left-hand side, we can also find a massive mural. It's not a mural, it's like woven cloth with Simba's face on it. And then right after that are two of my favorite little fun facts and little details that can be found anywhere inside of Harambe. There are two benches here, and one of them says Harambe 1962. The other one says Uhuru 1962. And I know what you're thinking. What on earth is Uhuru? Well, if you remember earlier, we did talk about how in the storyline of Harambe in Africa inside of Disney's Animal Kingdom, that there was the idea of gaining its independence from the old country in 1962. So the word Uhuru actually means freedom, or it's when they gained their independence. So that is why when you're going by, you can see the word Uhuru 1962 there as a nod to when Harambe actually gained its independence from its previous country. So as we continue going through here, we're going to go up, around, and into the main part of the village. Now, there's a few things that we want to talk about in the main part of the village, but let's start off with the one that's right there, smack dab in front of us, Tamu Tamu Refreshments. Now, Tamu Tamu Refreshments has been around since the park first opened up, and it also has one of my favorite details in any Disney park anywhere around the world. So while you're going through into Tamu Tamu Refreshments, at first, we'll first talk about like on the ground while you're actually facing the line, there is a hidden Mickey on the ground. It is 3 little circles. It's made up of different like little rocks on the ground along with a grate. So you can see that it's great. But when you go inside of the seating area is this amazing area. It's completely open. There's all these different lights hanging down. Actually, fun fact, one of my friends was considering having it so they got married at Disney property and having it so that was where their rehearsal dinner was going to be at, because they saw pictures, but they had actually never been to Tamu Tamu Refreshments. So they didn't actually know how big the area was going to be. And they're like, maybe I should find a place that would actually mean a little bit more to me. And then they decided not to get married there at all. So complete side note. But when you're inside of that seating area, if you're coming from the entrance that is over by the walkway to Asia, you walk in and then you take a look at the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, there is a wall, and on that wall, there is a massive piece of cloth. Sometimes it's hanging down, sometimes it's tied up. It really depends on the day that you actually go. Today, it was tied up. When you go into that area, there are 2 different things that are actually carved into the wall. And we're going to talk a little bit about this right now, because we all know about the history of things like hidden Mickeys. However, there are other hidden characters that can be found everywhere around the Walt Disney World Resort and all the different Disney parks around the world as well. And a lot of the times when they are hidden, the Imagineers put them in very creative ways that most people would see it and not even think twice of, wait a minute, is that who I think it is? Most times it's just like, oh yeah, it's, just random rock work that just happened to fall that way. But we all know by this point that the Imagineers have all hidden these things on purpose for us to see. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at right now. So on the left-hand side there, you can see 2 different characters. On the left-hand side, it is rock work that has fallen down to make the profile of Baloo the bear from the Jungle Book. And to his right-hand side, again, rock work that's fallen down to have it so the wall looks decayed, making it look like Shere Khan, also from the Jungle Book. So we have 2 different hidden characters here. That was actually shared with me by an opening day cast member back in 2004 when I was on my college program. She was like, my roommate and I were looking for hidden Mickeys, and this girl's like, hey, do you guys want to see the coolest hidden character ever? And she's like, there's like 4 people who know about this. And I was like, what? And so she showed us, and I was mind blown. Actually, she only showed us Baloo, and then we found Shere Khan later on, and we're like, wait a minute. And we showed her, and she's like, oh my gosh, that is Shere Khan. Completely different side story. But anyways, if anyone has any questions, by the way, I know I'm talking a lot right now. Throw your questions in the comments, and we will go through your questions as well. So after we exit out of Tamu Tamu Refreshments, and we'll take a right, we will take a few looks at some of the posters that are found on the wall. 3 of them, to be specific, because there are 3 of my favorites. One of them is Joe Rohde Mask and Beads. It is Jorodi. Joe Rohde is the head Imagineer for all of Disney's Animal Kingdom, and he also always had these different beads that are hanging from his ear. And because of that, Imagineers decided to pay tribute to him and put different advertisements throughout all of Harambe that are advertising Joe Rohde's Mask and Beads. In addition to that, we do have 2 travel agencies that are around. One of them is the Twiga Travel Agency. The Twiga is the animal that is found throughout most of Africa, and you can actually find it on the safari as well. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. I've never heard of a Twiga. I'm sure you have, but you probably just know it as a giraffe. In Swahili, it's known as a twiga. So the twiga travel company has it so the emblem is none other than a giraffe. My favorite one, though, is Bob's Rentals. Bob's Rentals is a thing, and it goes through and it's like, Bob's Rentals. Make sure you talk to Bob. Bob, 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 Bob. And you see Bob's name on there like 15 times. And at the very bottom, it's got Bob's phone number. And in parentheses, it says, ask for Ed. Which my dad found that one when we were going through and talking all about when we were doing our thing for the Great Disney Scavenger Hunt, the one that we won back in 2011. When we were doing that, my dad was in charge of Africa and doing research for Africa before we would actually go through the competition. He found that. He's like, this is hilarious. And I was like, that is hilarious. And that's the whole story. So as you continue going down, we have a few other things that we want to take a look at. First off, on the bottom right-hand corner of a pole that's coming up, you can see it is a pole for a light. And then at the bottom of it, it says Harambe. Guess what? 1962. Once again, paying tribute to the fact that that is when Harambe was founded. Now, inside of the shop, there are several different references to the Lion King found throughout. One of them is a carving of Rafiki. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. This carving was actually part of the old search and find program that came out back in 2019. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's 2019. And during this search and find thing, it was one of those other search and find hunts that they have found throughout all of Walt Disney World, but you had to go through and you had to find different hidden characters throughout all of the area. And one of the characters was Rafiki that was hiding inside the shop. So if you go inside the shop through the main entrance and you take a look up at the right-hand side, you can find Rafiki there. In the second part of the shop, the one that is actually attached to the candy location, you can actually look up and around on the walls, and you can find out that this is actually not just a souvenir shop, but it's actually a shop for people who are going off into the wilderness and possibly doing a safari on their own. Because all the different things that are found there are different prices for different items like camping tents, binoculars, rifles, etc., etc., etc. Things that people might need if they were going out into the wilderness that they needed to survive for a little bit longer than just hopping on a Jeep for a nice little 2-week safari, which we're going to be doing in just a few minutes here. But before we go on that safari, let's hang a right and go over by the Harambe Marketplace. Now, the Harambe Marketplace has a few of my favorite different details, and they also has some of my favorite Disney walls, because apparently Disney walls are a big thing now, and people absolutely love Disney walls, and, well, there's 3 of them here. So let's talk about all 3 of them. Our first one is the You Are Most Beautiful wall, and that's on the wall. It's a thumbs up. But they can be found towards the back of it, in the back area, but also in the back area, more importantly, is different bike parts and different things that we're waiting to go onto trains, because as we all know, right next door to this, we do have the train that would take guests over to Rafiki's Planet Watch. And because the trains are there and they take guests off on exciting expeditions all around the world on the Eastern Star Railway, we have it so right here. We do have the train station where we can see different props. So if you kind of look through, you can actually see like a story unfolding about all the different people who are going to be traveling there. Side note, we're still at 3,498. Oh, as we continue going through here, when you go through, there is a sign that says this is a 2-language, or this is a Swahili English speaking zone. So please honor that. In addition to that, we do have Fichwa Fellow. Now, Fichwa Fellow is a picture of Mickey Mouse, and next to him it says Fichwa Fellow. Most people are like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's a picture of Mickey, and it's got Fichwa Fellow next to it. And most people don't really bother to figure out what Fichwa Fellow actually means. Well, fellow means fellow. So we all know what fellow is. A fellow is just another term for a guy. But more importantly, Fichwa is Swahili for the term hidden. So in Swahili, this actually says hidden fellow or hidden man or a hidden Mickey. So when you're actually there, you are looking at a hidden Mickey that is actually being identified as a hidden Mickey. Hey, Eric. Eric, we're doing a take a hike through Africa right now. Join us. It's going to be wonderful. Although we're actually like done. No, we're not. So on the other side of that, we also have the bike shop. And along the corner of the bike shop, there is a door and it says, please knock and wait. If you knock on it and you wait for about 30 seconds, nothing happens. But I always try to trick people and tell them that that's what they should be doing. Okay, I don't know who keeps on doing this as a joke, but this is not funny. We're at 3 away right now. We were at 2 away. I don't know who unsubscribed, but please come back. Welcome back. We are currently at 3,497 subscribers. We want to hit 3,500 by the end of the night. So keep on sending your friends over to it. You just want to book. Okay. So when we are going from this area, from the Harambe market towards the safari, I think it's very important to talk about the transition point that's happening here, because we've talked a lot about different transition points throughout all of Walt Disney World from time to time to time. My personal favorite still, without a doubt, is the one from Fantasyland into Liberty Square, followed closely by Liberty Square into Frontierland, and also followed closely by Main Street USA to Adventureland. There's a lot of really cool transitions that are found everywhere throughout Walt Disney World. However, one of the ones that I feel like does not get enough service is the one that is found inside of Harambe itself, that is a transition from Harambe to Harambe. And let me explain what I mean. So after you go through the candy shop and while you're by the little store there, if you look out towards the future, aka towards the safari, you may notice that there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. There's a little kiosk there that sells really good corn. If you're looking for a really good corn on the cob, that's where you want to go. But that's besides the point. There is that area which actually goes through and has it so we can experience wilderness. Because the transition from one spot to another spot is while we're about to go on safari, the way to go to safari is we actually have to leave the town itself and go off into the wilderness to get to our first spot. So when we actually leave this area and we start making our way over to Kilimanjaro safaris, you are leaving civilization and you are going to the first outpost. Now, the first outpost is the very start of the line when you start going through the actual line and not the lightning lane. If you go through the lightning lane, you're completely bypassing this. But if you go to the very first line, in the regular line, on our right-hand side, we go through a little door. Now, inside, or not door, it's through this little office. While you're going through this office, there are several different things to note. Number one, the phone is always ringing. There are some times where they'll pick up or they'll have a voicemail being left, but 9 times out of 10, you will hear the phone ringing here. If you try to pick it up, nothing happens. I've tried it once. It doesn't happen. But right around the corner, we can see a route of what Disney's Animal Kingdom's safari was originally supposed to be. And that's not just what it was supposed to be, it was actually what it was. For the first about 15 years that the attraction was open, there was 2 starring attractions in the attraction. Kind of confusing, but that's how it is. There was 2 stars of the attraction, and ironically enough, these 2 stars weren't really even in the attraction, and they were Big Red and Little Red. Now, Big Red and Little Red from 1998 up until about 2012, 2013 were the main stars of the attraction until eventually they would switch over the theme of the attraction. But when the park first opened up, one of the biggest problems that was going on in Africa was the idea of poaching. And because of that, Disney really wanted to have it so they stressed a storyline about how poaching is terrible. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And now poaching it's still a thing, but it's not as bad and as massive as it was back in 1998 when the park first opened up. So eventually Disney would say, okay, we're not going to focus on this idea anymore. And we're going to kind of reel it back a little bit. And we're going to now talk a little bit more about conservation instead. So when we would go through the original attraction in 1998 to about 2011, 2012, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're doing this entire episode off the top of my head, so I don't remember the dates exactly. But up until, I want to say it was 2012. I'm almost positive because I knew one of the people who was working Kilimanjaro safaris, and I think it was 2012 when she was still working there, because then she went to Great Movie Ride, and I remember her telling me, she's like, oh, they just switched it over, like they're switching it over this week, the entire storyline. I was like, what? True story. But so the original storyline was going to focus on Big Red and Little Red. Now, when you're actually in the line, you can still find a poster of Big Red and Little Red. But ironically enough, Big Red and Little Red were not real at all. And it's funny because there are a lot of times where I've talked to people and they say, oh no, Big Red and Little Red were in fact real. But no, they were not at all. In fact, they were just, one was an animatronic and the other one was a carcass. A carcass? Yes, a carcass. Because when they originally were going to open up the park, one of the ideas was to have it so we would see the gruesome of what would happen when people actually went out poaching. And when you entered into the line, on the right hand side was a giant elephant carcass of Big Red. And that was our main goal, was we wanted to get onto this attraction. We wanted to go try to figure out where Little Red was to save him, because the poachers already got his mother, and now we wanted to save Little Red before he got poached as well. Now, the entire thing did switch storylines right before the park opened up, because in 1998, just a little bit before the entire attraction or the entire park opened up, there was helicopters that were flying overhead, because a lot of people were thinking that was a terrible idea for Disney to open up a zoo. But of course, the tagline at the start of the entire park was "Not a zoo," NAHTUZU, not a zoo. One of my favorite taglines ever. But it's so cool. Not a zoo. I still have a map someplace of the original Not the Zoo thing. So a lot of people thought it was the terrible thing that Disney was opening up this park that was focused solely on the idea of animals. So all these different people were protesting the park until it eventually would open up. And when it opened up, there was a lot of different support that was being brought in, mainly by people like Jane Goodall, the queen of the chimpanzees. All these different big scientific experts were saying, no, 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 Disney's actually doing everything that they can in their power to make sure all the animals that are found here have a very good life. So let them be. And if you actually go through and read the Imagineering story, not the show, but there was actually that massive book. I did a review about it about 2 months ago here on my YouTube channel. In that book, they go into a lot of detail about all the different backing that they had to get from different people to have it so people would say, okay, Disney probably should be able to do the zoo, and they should do it the right way. But all these different people were trying to shut down Disney's Animal Kingdom, and there was helicopters that were flying above, and they saw the carcass. Now, see, we got back to what we were talking about. I went on a 5-minute rampage, but we circled back. They found the carcass of Big Red at the entrance of Kilimanjaro Safaris, and when they found this carcass there, they said, look, Disney's already doing a terrible job. They have it so they are going through and already disrespecting all their animals, and because of that, no one should go to this place, not realizing that it was not a real carcass, but it was actually a fake elephant. So Disney quickly said, you know what, we can't really do this full storyline, so they got rid of the carcass completely, and the carcass just disappeared. So when we actually go on to Kilimanjaro Safaris, we go through a few different areas, including the Little Katori Forest, which is a Swahili word for hidden forest. There is the Safi River. Safi is Swahili for hippo. It's a hippo river, and that's where you can find the hippos. And then as we go through, you will also see the baobab tree. Now, the baobab tree here, as much as I have lied to people in the past saying that, oh yeah, I have seen leaves on it, there are no leaves. It is a fake tree. There are a few fake baobab trees found throughout the park, this being one of them. One of the other ones would be actually the tree of life, because baobab tree is actually the same term of tree of life. So when you see a baobab tree, you're essentially looking at a tree of life. But speaking of carvings and different trees, let's take a step back out of the attraction and take a look back at the entrance of the attraction instead, because at the entrance of the attraction, you can find a massive tree that is over by... Yes, I mean they are fake. When I first moved down here, someone was like, I think they're real. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they're fake. So I actually went through and I made sure I went on the safari once a week for like a year, just so I could take a picture of it every single time and be like, look, still no leaves, still no leaves, still no leaves, still no leaves. But when you were going into the actual entrance of the attraction, between the lightning lane and the standby entrance, there is another massive tree here. This is one of my favorite little fun facts that most people never really pay attention to. And I've tried to get good video footage of it so I can do like a little fun find video about it. But it's so difficult because it's such a weird location. One of the Imagineers was going to do some carving on the Tree of Life, because if you've remembered in my past videos, all of the trees were actually carved there on the Tree of Life, and they had to have like quick drying cement to try to figure it out. One of the Imagineers did a practice run on the tree that is found in between the lightning lane and the standby entrance of Kilimanjaro Safaris. So while you're there, if you take a look up at one of the branches, just one, there's only one, you can actually find a carving of a lizard on it. And it's only on that one tree, it's only on that one branch. But as the urban legend aka my friend who used to work Kilimanjaro Safaris, told me apparently the Imagineer was going to be working on a lizard sculpture on the Tree of Life. So they did a practice sculpture there because they weren't sure how it would come out. So they did the sculpture there, and then they made their way over the Tree of Life. And that's why you can find a lizard on that tree. But back into the Kilimanjaro Safaris, let's do just a few more little details about it, because we've done a whole episode about Kilimanjaro Safaris in the past. We will do another one in the future, I'm sure, as well. But while we were there and focusing on this area, if you take a look out towards the when you're by the elephant area, on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, going from the elephant area into the white or light rhino section, you can find different cave drawings on both sides of the truck. These cave drawings were actually done by 3 different Imagineers, but the most notable one was Joe Rody himself, who wanted to have it so it looked like there was an old African tribe that lived in this area and studied the patterns of the animals. And if you look, you can see the cave drawings of different people who probably would be part of a tribe and the animals that they were actually observing that were found in the area. Okay, I also don't know, because I keep on looking down at it. It's bumming me out. Who unsubscribed and why you aren't coming back? We only wanted to do as a test run, people, because it actually does hurt my YouTube. YouTube then looks at it and says, oh, this guy's losing people instead of gaining people. We're not going to show his videos to as many people. So please come back. Also, if you are just joining us, we are trying to get to 3,500 subscribers tonight on my YouTube channel, which is Brent Dodge. Here, let's blow this one up a little bit. There it is, Brent Dodge. So if you want to go through and have it so you subscribe, make sure you subscribe so we can hopefully hit that before we wrap up the show tonight. Okay, let's continue here. By the way, I really do like this idea of us being able to just pull these things up at any time. Where's the other one? There's that one. There's that one where I'm really small. There's that one. And then there's just that one where I'm not even here. Now it's just, I'm a voice saying 3,497 subscribers. Channel growth. Total subscribers. November 1st to 28. Oh, wait, anyway. We're going to have fun with that in the future. Some people are like already sick of it, but I'm loving it. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about the safari is the way that they actually go through and have it so the different animals are found in their specific areas. It's forest perspective at its finest. We've talked a lot about forest perspective when it comes to things like the Cinderella Castle, walking down Main Street, USA, where it looks like the buildings are a lot taller than they actually are. All those different things are ideas of forest perspective. When it comes to Disney's Animal Kingdom, what they did for forest perspective was they wanted to have it so it looked like the grass kept on going at one level, but in reality, there is a massive pit between you and, say, the tigers, or a massive pit between you and the cheetahs, or a massive pit between you and the elephants. And this is all done with forest perspective to make it look like it is a continuously one level thing, but in reality, there's a massive thing separating you and the other animals. Okay, let's make our way out of Kilimanjaro Safaris. And when you exit Kilimanjaro Safaris, there are a few different things that we can take a look at. Number one, the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. But before we actually get to the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, let's take a look at my favorite part about the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail that's not part of the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. Does that make any sense? Probably not, but let me explain. So we have a Disney's Animal Kingdom map right here, ironically enough. Will we be able to see this on the map? I do not know, but we're going to try. Okay, so if you look at the top area there, see where it says number 25? And then if you look towards the right-hand side and up a little bit, you can see a little house there, a little brown-roofed house. That brown-roofed house is the area where it's the exit of Kilimanjaro Safaris. And then if you look a little bit to the left of that, you can see that path goes right to the river. That pathway goes to the backside of where the gorillas are on the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. So if you actually go up to that area, you can actually see some gorillas sometimes, and usually there's no one else around. Most likely, I'm not going to promise you that's going to happen every time, but I would say about 90% of the time when I go over there, and I go over there almost every time I'm at Disney's Animal Kingdom, about 90% of the time, if you look over there, there's a nice little waterfall there, and right underneath the waterfall is always the same gorilla just napping away. Like, that's his spot. I talked to the different animal keepers. They're like, that guy just that's his spot. Like he comes out, he goes there, and he just relaxes all day long until some food comes out. And then he goes eats his food, and then he comes back and just kind of relaxes there. And there was one time another gorilla tried to take a spot, and I watched it, and he was livid. So, anyways, so you can go there, or you can go around the corner. And once you go around the corner, you can actually get to the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. Now, if you did go to Disney's Animal Kingdom earlier in your life, you probably know it as the Pangani Forest Exploration Trail. But eventually they switched it to Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail because a lot of people would get to the Pangani Forest Exploration Trail, be like, oh, is this where the gorillas are? And they said, you know what, there's so many people who are confused. We're just going to switch the name, which is what Disney does a lot because sometimes people are not the brightest. So when you go through the trail, there is a storyline that's taking place here, and it all comes down to an idea of a community coming together and doing some observation of the different animals. Now, when we are going through this trail here, one of the most important things to point out is not only are there animals being observed here by other people, by actually the students who work and live at the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, but more importantly, if you remember back in the day when we used to be able to go to, well, we can still go to Rafiki Spino Watch, but back when you could go to Rafiki Spino Watch, there used to be an area where the Animation Academy currently sits, where you could actually pull up different cameras and you could control different cameras around the park to do observation about different animals around the park. Now, when they started to go through and do this, the cameras, unfortunately, are still there, but you can no longer control them because they decided to put up the Animation Academy. Love the Animation Academy, but I wish they would have kept those cameras around too, because I just always loved going and watching the gorillas from this perspective. And we're going to talk about it in just a second. So while you're going through the, I was going to say Pangani, but Pangani or Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, like I said, you are going through and having it so you are doing a scientific study with a bunch of researchers who are actually studying the animals that are found there. So as you go through, please pay attention on your next time through that there are several different clipboards, and all those different clipboards have different things about the different animals. Now, the really cool thing about this is it is set up like an actual clipboard that someone who is observing animals would actually follow. So not everything in there is accurate. However, the things that are inaccurate are crossed out. So it's like someone was going through and saying, oh, I think that maybe gorillas like blah, 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 because I noticed that they're doing blah, 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 blah. And they write it down. And then all of a sudden on their next study, they realize that no, gorillas don't like that. They probably just saw them doing that in a different study because of something completely different. So they cross off the first one. So there are several different examples of this as you go through the entire trail. The first one's over by the okapis. The next one is found inside the area over by the naked mole rats. Then they have some over by the hippos, and continuing all the way up until the gorillas as well. But let's also go through and talk a little bit about the hippos, because while we're going through the hippo area, you are actually going past the Safi River from Kilimanjaro Safaris, which is at a lower level. So up and to your left is actually where the jeeps are passing by. But if you look, there's like some plant work. And that's because when you're going on the safari, you first go by some trees. So that's the part that you are below at that point. And then those hippos can go a little bit more around the corner to where Kilimanjaro Safaris actually sits. Pretty cool. Continue going through into the gorilla area. We have another character that has to be talked about. We talked about Baloo and we talked about Shere Khan earlier. But while you're going across the bridge into the central area of the two gorilla stations, there are two gorilla sections. One of them is for bachelors, which are just the gorillas that are older and male, and they live by themselves. And then on the other side is the family, where it's a dude along, it's a gorilla along with his lady friends, and then all of his different kids from his lady friends, to put it the nicest way possible. So when you're going on that bridge, if you take a look behind you on the right-hand side, you can see that there is rockwork, and the rockwork looks very uniquely shaped. It is actually a hidden Jafar from Aladdin. So if you look, he's got a turban on, he's got a little bit of a feather coming out. But again, it's supposed to look like deteriorated rock, so it is not the most distinguishable thing. However, this one has been confirmed by a few different Imagineers throughout the years as being a hidden Jafar. So as we exit out of Gorilla Falls and go across the bridge and continue going down, on our left-hand side, we have our last stop of the area. We're not going to go over on the train today, but we have the train that takes people over to Rafiki's Planet Watch. While you're actually in here, number one, the most important thing to take a look at are all the different advertisements. Again, we have all those Joe Rody Mask and Beads. We have the Ask for Ed signs, the Twiga Travel Company, all those different signs and posters that we talked about earlier in the episode. And then one of my favorite details, and it comes and it goes and it comes and goes and comes and goes. And I think I'm the only person in the world who truly believes that this is what it stands for, but it's not around right now. And it drives me crazy because every time I try to show people, it's usually not there. I've seen it like 5 times. There is a notice board, and in this notice board, it talks about all these different things. And it says, "Node, trains going to the town of Shabby are no longer being processed." And I was like, that is so funny because that means it is not too shabby. And I'm pretty sure that's what the Imagineers actually mean. And I'm probably the only person who has ever understood the joke that some guy was like, haha, not too shabby. After we exit out of that area and continue going down, eventually you will get to a path that takes us over to Asia. Now, before we go all the way to Asia and end this episode, let's take a look at the 3 options that we have. Number 1, the straight and narrow path, the path that most people will take because it is the most exciting path, not the most exciting, but it's the most direct, and it's the most clearly labeled that this is where you are going, and that's where you want to go. Path number 2, it has a dead end, but it's the most beautiful view you will have of the Tree of Life. That is from further away. Of course, being close to the Tree of Life on one of the trails is a lot better. But if you want to get a really cool far away picture of the Tree of Life, this is where you want to go. You want to take the path on the right. It goes right down to the river, and you have a perfect view of the Tree of Life. And path number 3 is one of my favorite paths because it is the only path that is the most hidden, and a lot of people don't even realize that they can go up there. This path goes into the woods to the location of what was supposed to be, at one point, a Tarzan roller coaster, but it would just never happen. But while you're up here, there are a few different cool things to take note of. 1, there is a picnic area up here. So if you want to, you can grab some food, you can go up there, and 9 times out of 10, you will be all by yourself. It's an amazing place to sit back and relax if you are into that kind of thing. I'm not. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's a perfect place to go. Number 3 fun facts about this. That doesn't sound right, but anyways. Also up here is a flower that only blooms for 1 day and 1 day only every 10 years. Yes, I have seen it. Yes, I don't understand the hype besides the fact that it's there 1 day every 10 years, but it's some super amazing flower, and Disney did a post about it it's going to be next year. It'll be the next bloom. It'll be sometime in 2024. It was 2004. I saw it. I saw it in 2014 as well, and it only blooms 1 day and 1 day only. And when Disney posted about it, they said it's supposed to bloom in the next few days. I went over there with my roommate in my college program, and people were freaking out, like absolutely freaking out. I saw it and I was like, oh, there's a flower. And I went on my way. And about 10 years later, Disney posted again about it. And I stopped by and I said, I'll see this thing again. I saw it 10 years ago. I might as well just visit it every 10 years because right now it's been in the park since the park opened. But those first 6 years, no one saw it because it didn't bloom. So every 10 years it blooms, apparently. And apparently it's going to be blooming again next year. So next year, if you're looking for me on Flower Blooming Day, you know where to find me. I'll be on that path looking at this flower with a bunch of other people who care a lot more about the flower than I do. Okay, does anyone out there have any questions? We'll take some questions here. We are still down that 1 subscriber. We are still down. Whoever unsubscribed never subscribed back. And you are slowly killing me. But if anyone has any questions out there, we'll go into a few extra minutes here answering your questions. And of course, if we get more subscribers as we go through here, we'll answer even more questions as well. So if anyone has any questions about any and everything here, we will go through and answer your questions. Favorite food at Animal Kingdom? Oh, I like Yak and Yeti. I used to work at Yak and Yeti, fun fact. But I do like Yak and Yeti's food. I think Yak and Yeti has really good food. I don't think it's the best food on Disney property, but I think it's good food. I also enjoy, what's it called? Flame Tree Barbecue. I think Flame Tree Barbecue, the half chicken, is really good. If you like barbecue, I do recommend Flame Tree Barbecue as well. But yeah, I would say Yak and Yeti is my favorite sit-down restaurant, and then Flame Tree Barbecue is my favorite quick service restaurant. Oh, wait, any other questions out there before we wrap this up tonight? I'm going to get a drink because I've been talking nonstop for like the last hour. I just saw this one. This was from like 45 minutes ago. I always thought that Stitch took over Mickey's recognition in Disney World at one point, or is that just me? He became more popular. I think he became more popular, but I don't think he ever took over Mickey. It was kind of weird. For a few years there, we did see a lot more Stitch with the Fab Five. And those were the days I was like, I don't like this. I like Stitch. I hated Stitch's ride with a passion. Still to this day, I absolutely hate Stitch's ride. It's one of my least favorite attractions that Disney's ever done. If I had to choose my least favorite attraction Disney's ever done, Stitch's Great Escape. But if you go over to Tokyo Disney, which I've never been, if anyone wants to send me, PayPal me. If you ever go to Tokyo Disney, though, the most popular character over there is Duffy, and then Marie from Aristocats, and then Mickey, which is crazy. What animal would you want to be a caretaker for? Ooh, that's a good question. I would. Oh, the giant Galapagos tortoises. I visit them every time I go to Animal Kingdom. I love them so much. I really, and there's one of them that I swear recognizes me because every time he sees me, he walks slowly over to me and then just stares at me for about 5 minutes. Then he walks away. Every time that if I catch his eye, and I know which, because they all are distinguishable about, they're distinguishable by different markers, like little paint patterns that they have on their shells and on which part of the shell it is. And it's always the same one. He's got it on his middle right square, and he always comes up and he says hello every time I'm there. So I would, yeah, that would be my favorite. I love watching the animal takers there. They're absolutely hilarious because I've seen them try to ring them in for, coming in for the night, and they get so frustrated. They're like, oh my gosh, the guys, they're just not moving. Which I'm sure that the animal keepers probably are like, I just want to go home. And these stupid tortoises are just taking their sweet time getting in. Okay, any other questions out there tonight? Ooh, that's not right. All right. Any other questions out there? Before we wrap up, we did not go up. We're still at 34.97. Do you like this better, or do you like me showing on here better? I kind of like the idea of it's easier. It's easy for me to just pull it. Oh, wait a minute. I can play around with it? Wait, what does this mean? Oh, no, I can't. And now I'm just playing around with this thing. What does this mean? Brent Dodge. That's me. Okay, this will be our last one unless we get another subscriber here. Any idea when Dinosaur closes? They still have not made any announcements yet about when it will close, but I'm still sticking with the prediction of we will see It's Tough to Be a Bug close first, and then we will have Dinoland USA close after Zootopia, the 3D attraction, opens up at where It's Tough to Be a Bug is. So hopefully we still have a few more months with it. I did spend another probably hour and a half in Dinoland USA today doing pictures and videos and all that other fun stuff for the book. So for research for the book. All right, but we are going to wrap up tonight's episode right here. As always, tonight's episode is sponsored by Patreon Pals. I don't know what to do for that yet. Thank you everyone for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show and From Screen to Theme, and invite anyone and everyone for the groups over on Facebook or over on YouTube as well. As you have seen all night tonight, we are currently 3 subscribers away from 3,500. I want to hit this before we enter into December. So please, if you know anyone at all, send them over to subscribe right now. And of course, as always, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Bye-bye now. Are they are they gone? Are they gone? Oh good, my cheeks are just killing me. I just can't stand this kind of